and welcome to the Entrepreneur Sushi Club podcast. I'm your host, Lubna, and as you know, if you've listened to any of the other over 60 episodes, this Entrepreneur Sushi Club podcast is a weekly podcast where we give you insight into the personality of successful sushi adoring entrepreneurs, show you that success is all about having fun in and with your business without the hustle and the grinding. And boy, do I have an amazing guest for you on this episode. I am speaking about the amazing Meilin Ehlke from Germany. She's a world-renowned artist and healer, and she guides illuminated leaders from around the world to follow the wisdom seeker's way and bloom into their beauty. Now, you know their story there. For the past 10 years, Meilin has helped hundreds of thousands of people to connect with the source of universal knowledge so that they can feel whole, rejuvenated, and empowered to seek their own chosen path. She also has a podcast called Moving to Oneness, where she reaches a worldwide audience. She has facilitated thousands to reconnect to their own wisdom, embody themselves fully, wake up to what is possible, and listen to their inner guidance. Meilin, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lumina.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to our conversation. But let's get started with one of the most important questions of our podcast.
Let's see.
Ready? Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
What's your favorite sushi and why?
It is unagi.
Okay, tell us more.
Unagi is an eel, and it has like a sweetness and fine, and you can eat it all different ways, if it's nigiri or sashimi or combined with other fish, and I love that a lot.
I've never heard about sashimi eel.
No, sashimi is the one is if you just eat the raw fish and without rice. And I sometimes even like, there is a dish called shirashi, where there is a bowl of rice, and then on top they lay the fish. So all you need, you can eat with the fish as much rice as you desire. I like that because then there's not so much rice. And some things I just love the texture of the fish on my mouth, and maybe that's a little shamanic. But there's, even when I eat, there is an exchange happening. And why do you feel for certain foods on certain days? And then we're talking here about Japanese. I don't eat it every single time. Yeah. There's always something else that calls, and I follow that a lot.
Oh, I love that. And how did you discover your love for sushi?
When my dad... it started because of my dad. My dad met my mom. My mom escaped from East Germany. He's American, and he got thrown out more or less out of the military, or he had to wash dishes because they thought she would be a spy. So then he went out into a venture of hi-fi at that time in the 60s and ended up in Japan. And so he got to know the Japanese culture of the 60s. I think that was the biggest gift for him and for me, and it sparked my interest anyway in the Japanese culture. And so I grew up close to Frankfurt, and there were a few Japanese restaurants where he took me along. I think the first time I was 6, and I can remember even what I ate. He said, "Meilin, try ebi." Ebi is the shrimp nigiri. And I tried it and I liked it. And so each time I tried a new thing. And now I think I've tried many, and I have some awkward tastes. Like I can eat, I love sometimes even natto maki hand roll, the fermented beans, soya beans.
Oh, but that's really young at an age of 6 to be introduced to sushi. Most of our guests that we've had before were introduced to sushi at a later age. But that's beautiful that it was through your father. And I believe that you have a child who loves sushi too.
Yeah, with 4. I think he ate his with 4. his
Wow.
first time. When I say sushi, not eating any fish at home, or when you're in France or Italy, you often see fish and eat fish. But going to a restaurant, he wanted to learn right away the chopsticks. And he made it. He put it in somehow in his fingers. They wanted to give him, the children ones where there is paper and a rubber band around it so they can just squeeze it. He just put that aside and he went for it. So whenever he feels a little down, or we celebrate. So both directions we go and eat. Sushi, or Japanese, I should say.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I recently introduced my 6-year-old niece. She's always been saying, no, 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 I don't like sushi. I don't like sushi. And I have a 4-year-old niece who loves sushi and a 2-year-old niece who loves sushi. But the 6-year-old always said, no, 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 I can't. And a couple of weeks ago, she said, I want to have lunch. I'm going to go do my groceries with my father. What do we got? He said, well, bring sushi. And she did. She brought sushi. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And I did give her the children chopsticks because she wanted to use the chopsticks and not a fork. So I said, well, we'll create the children one. And she did. She tasted sushi and she loved it. And she went for the nigiri salmon. So salmon is one of her favorites. She's already eaten the fried salmon, but she never moved that step to raw salmon. But she did. And now we get to joke about it and say, okay, when are we going to have sushi again? And it's really fun to do that. And especially with the chopsticks and small children. I love that. So, Meilin, one of the other questions that we ask our guest is the one where we dive into your personality and character so people can get to know you a little bit more. And we do that in a fun way, of course.
Oh, good. I love to have fun.
We do it in a fun way. So the question is, if your personality and character were a sushi, what would be the ingredients and why?
Hamachi.
Okay, well, break it down for people that have no idea what that means.
Okay, it's a ocean fish. It's when you get it in a restaurant, it's white. It has a fine flavor. It is soft. It feels gentle when you eat it, but the fish is very powerful and strong. Wow.
Okay.
And
so we've got gentle,
flexible and travels through the oceans. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got powerful, we've got strong, we've got gentle. Okay.
Yeah, the soft and the flavor is fine. So it's a palate and it develops. So it's not the fish you mix with a lot of things.
Okay.
I mean, you can. Yeah, I've eaten it, as I said, with the strong taste of natto, the fermented soya bean. Yeah, but you can be careful that it still stays unknown and it's in its way.
Okay, and does that mean that you eat it as is, or do you eat it as a nigiri, as a maki, as a hand roll? Or maybe even a sushi bowl.
And there's a good tasting. It is called a hamachi hand roll, and they make a little spring onion into it. That I like a hand roll. I don't eat it as sushi. Sometimes nigiri. I mean, not in a roll, because it takes away the flavor again. It's a fine. Unless in a hand roll, it's a little different, and they have bigger pieces in it as well. Or they mix it up, chop it up. Yeah, but that's also beautiful fish for sushi, sashimi, just eating the fish.
Yeah. So your personality, are you choosing a hand roll or are you choosing just the fish?
I think maybe you just take me as I am.
I love that. I love it. Just clean. And we've got, so gentle.
And it shines. Ooh, that's a good one. It's like white and shines. It has a brightness to it.
Okay, so we've got your personality description is gentle, powerful, strong, bright. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, it really travels. The fish itself, it moves around.
Okay, and what does that represent in your personality? What does that tell me
I
about you?
travel a lot. I like to see the world. I've lived in many countries.
Oh,
Love to see, get to know people. Yeah.
and so you're curious.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, that's a beautiful
And
one.
if you try to squeeze me in and don't give me the freedom, I go. And and maybe even if some fishermen go for that fish, they have a little fight to do with the fish.
Oh, well, that is interesting, and I can resonate with that because every time anyone has ever tried to put me in a box in the last 20 years, I jump out of the box again, and they were like, "But no, I thought you were more like that person."
I
And
love
I'm
that
like,
about
"No,
you. Yeah.
I like jumping out of boxes. I don't have a lot for labels, and that is because I love variety so much. I don't like to do the same thing at the same time. As soon as it becomes predictable, I'm out. That's basically it. I'm out. And I know that there are people in the world that love and thrive on predictability. I'm not one of them. And I fully embrace that about myself. So, yeah, it just means that I need to make sure that I do different things at the same time. And I love starting things, but I don't like babysitting the house too much. So that's a great one to know. And it's interesting because as entrepreneurs, as we know more about ourselves, it's easier to determine, okay, how can I work the best way so I can provide the best value and create trust in the marketplace. It's
Yeah.
happening to our uniqueness.
Genau, that we're very, very vast beings, and we're not taught to be vast. And we're trained by many cultures. Not all of them do that. Or social settings, environment, ecological second. Not ecological. Been about it. Speaking so much about ecology last week. But the social structures, where we grew up and where we're supposed to put in. So anyway, they try to box us. And it's not celebrated enough, our vastness and what our uniqueness is, and you put it into it. And so I think for an entrepreneur, for us to if you're like me, and you're like you're right, it's to pull out what is the most fun. And you were talking about what is the most fun that I have in my life. When are those moments? What do I do automatically that are so easy? And to nurture exactly that, because then you can build up and then you invite the unfathomed and you can be surprised and surprised. So we both are beings that love to see what's out there. And if you stay in the moment, other things can come toward us. Not that we don't know where to go and what to do, but it is like a collaboration also with what arises. And then, to find people in your team, because entrepreneurs, we can't do things alone. It's just, maybe if you're right, but even then you need people. And then you have cats. I had only one sushi eating cat.
we always have an animal showing up. So
I'll tell that story in a second. But do what you love and find people that support you in getting better in what you love to do.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I'm a big advocate of showing up as you and embracing your uniqueness, because that's what the world needs. And I know it's difficult because we were all brought up in a society that tries to move all of us into an average, and to make sure that everyone is a little bit always the same, so we can be predictable about someone's behavior. But it's your uniqueness that is really important. So Meilin, I want to jump into the last segment of our time together, which is you are a world-renowned artist and healer. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I had a radio show, it's still running now, but on replays, where I heal, sang, brought wisdom as a channeler or shaman, and supported people. And it turned out that people called more and more, also for their personal healing, or wrote in, but then also for global topics. or environmental topics, planetary topics, and beyond. And because I have so many beings, I communicate even in a conversation like this. I'm always a channel. I'm never not a channel. And I see someone love this. Thank you, dear Facebook person. Thanks for your love. Back to you. And so that started, and I've painted all over the world, and even my paintings, when they burned down on the Autobahn, right, they went out into the world, and people could wrote back, and they felt it. They felt the energies of those paintings. I saw 100,000 listened to my replays in that radio, Sacred Sound Surprises. And now I'm doing my own podcast, and there again, I shine light on others, and also then bring wisdom, because it's important to uplift each other. This is my biggest gift, to bring serenity, a peacefulness within, but also without. So I've worked a lot with for peace, with peace, if it's in Berlin on a peace march and concert, where we brought people together from around the world, or World Unity Week yesterday. So it's always something. I've done art. Bridges have been built in yellow because of me and my ideas when I was a landscape architect. So I've done their things, which were very artistic. I paint. I bring many different things together, all things that I love. I love to dance. I love to my art. And these have all become tools to support me personally in my own development, and that now support others in being uplifted and becoming themselves and acting from there. So I'm a big believer, we're here as guides to support everyone to move into their strengths, and then give them the safety net, or the safety room, or whatever, or the embrace where they can open up and then be who they are and try out to act on their own knowledge, because we are 14 billion years old. Each particle in our body has a memory of everything. And that is what I want to give back to the world. Say, you're so beautiful. Act on it, be it, and shine your light and create what you want to create.
And what type of people tend to come to you for healing, Meilin?
A lot of creatives. So songwriters, screenplay writers, painters. You're already very multifaceted beings. Athletes, to get more speed, momentum, right? Those creatives, if they're blocked. Sometimes I sing a song. There was a woman, she wrote a new business plan, and she said, I need it by tomorrow, I'm stuck. So I recorded a song and sent it to her so she could listen to it. And then spiritual entrepreneurs, that they speak more about also that we are who we are, and that we don't have to hide if we have connections, and that help them to then reach huger audiences and to become well known.
So if for someone who's listening and thinking, I'm intrigued, I'm curious, what are some of the things that they can recognize, that you can share, that they can recognize about them, that they're stuck right now, and that they might benefit from healing?
So often you want to do something and you can't. You have these ideas running in your head. There are two things. One thing, and ask yourself what it is, and you will feel the answer. And how do you feel the answer? Mostly if you contract, then it's like a no. And if you feel soft with what you hear, or if you even speak it out loud, then you know it's right for you to do. So the first thing I would ask, is it the right time? Right? And many of us, especially, we already work for the future. So we have these ideas, and it's a little bit like the fermentation we were speaking about of the soya beans, right? That they create, then they have to get to that certain spot. So, but they need all the other things to prepare it, right? The salt, they need a nice bucket, and and then they have to be put it in a portion, and they're sent to a sushi restaurant, and until you find and eat it, that there's so many things have to happen. It takes also time. And see if your environment, and why is not the time, because the environment is maybe not ready. And then if you notice, is it something I'm maybe afraid of, or is something in my surrounding or a certain person or an experience holding me back to do it? And when it's then there, then you look, what was it? Or is this still overriding my life now? And you said, oh no, it's not. This is old. Give it some awareness. Say, that has happened. Okay, I'm happy that it happened because now it made me aware of it. Now it gives me strength. So, right, anything that happened in our life was there for a reason. And then you notice it dissolves. And sometimes it goes quicker, and sometimes it takes a while if it's a bigger issue. So if it's a bigger issue, do get help because we don't have to do it alone if it's important for you.
Yeah, and is it something that, I mean, I've heard before and I've experienced myself, is that something will keep coming up until you've learned the lesson and the blessing of what happened for you? Is that something that, is that what it is, or is it something else?
I don't call it a lesson. Who's telling it the word? I'm very observant of vocabulary.
Yeah.
Who tells us we have to learn a lesson?
Well, that's what people tend to say.
Because we repeat what others do, right?
There's a lesson to be learned here. That's why this keeps coming up for you. Or something, another statement is someone comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime is another one.
But that's a better, but if you listen to the second one, it's opening, creates possibility, where the other one is, it puts you down. Did you notice I forgot what it's called, it is Sprichwort, it's in Deutsch, I don't know, maybe it's...
Yeah, it's a saying.
Ja, genau, danke. Thanks. So even observe there. So we don't have to learn less. Again, we're vast. We're just learning to and recognizing the experiences that we have lost. But I mean, this culture 2,000 years ago, our cultures were eradicated also here in Europe, right? The Romans, they killed a lot of people, the healers or the wisdom carriers. So now it is for us to move back into our natural state of being, having our own answers, having the possibility to understand what we're acting from. So a lesson to learn, we set out sometimes as a reminder. I would say it's a reminder, and we know it's then and then because we already designed the future. Even though everyone says live in the present, in the moment, but we always design already our future.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I love having these types of conversations. We can learn so much about who we are and how we show up in the world. So Meilin, for someone who's listening right now and thinking, or maybe you're watching the video and thinking, how can I connect with Meilin? I want to ask more questions. How can they connect?
Listen, a good place is always Moving to Oneness, my podcast. And another place, meet with me, converse with me. And the best, meet Meilin, so .com, MEET, and then Meilin, MEILIN.com, and schedule some time. I'm really open and also curious to meet you.
Awesome. So we'll make sure that those links are added to the description with this episode. Thank you, Meilin, for being on the
show. No, thank you for having me. It was really fun. And anyway, the idea of, you're in the Netherlands, I'm in Germany, and we could talk about the culture of eating a dish that is from Japan. It's so global. It really shows the newness of where this world and we as humanity are moving into.
Yeah, we're all connected, and this podcast, whether you're watching the video version or listening to the audio version, we are connected. We just have to focus our attention on that connectedness that already exists and open up to the possibilities of that connection. So thank you again, Meilin, for being on our show. And thank you for choosing to invest your time and listen to this episode. As
Thank you.
always, we would love to know what has been your biggest insight and takeaway from your time invested. Do take a moment and share it with us in our community, the Entrepreneur Sushi Club on Facebook. You will find Meilin in that community. So if you want to connect with her there, that's also a
That's a good place.
possibility. Awesome. You will find the link to our community in the description with this episode. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation with Meilin, please share this episode with them so that they can become aware of some of the amazingness that Meilin is doing in the world. And if you know or are an entrepreneur or business owner who likes or loves sushi, then we would love to have you as a guest. We can have this conversation with you. So for now, have an amazing day, and remember, have fun.
Bye, everyone.